All right, welcome to today's live stream. So, I am happy to be back in the seat, as I like to say. I actually was not feeling the best last week, so I took last week off. And I'm excited because this was the topic I had planned to cover. But I think it's something that you're really going to get a lot of information out of, a lot of benefit from the information I'm going to be sharing. So, if you are joining me live, feel free to drop into the comments and say hello. Also, feel free to let me know where it is that you are watching from. I'm always happy to know that there are others online that are interested. And I always like to share with you that whenever you're on a live stream with me, I always suggest that you have some way of taking notes. So if that's pen and paper, if it's the notes app on your phone, however it is that you like to do it, get it ready because this is a topic that I think is going to definitely help you all a lot. And I really believe that for some of you, that if you implement the information that I'm sharing today, you're going to be in a position to start either capturing email addresses right away, or you're going to be in a position to start selling your digital products right away. So let's go ahead and get into the information. And as I always do throughout, if you've ever been on one of my live streams, you know I always come prepared with lots of notes. So if you see me looking over to the side, I'm looking at my notes, not ignoring you. And as always, if you have questions as I'm going through something, because something's not clear or you need a better explanation, drop those questions into the comments. I'm always happy to answer those as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the information that we're going to be sharing. And let me tell you what the topic is. Oh, and let me introduce myself. I'm Rhonda M. Jordan, and I teach solopreneurs who are age 45 years of age and older how to build digital businesses, essentially teaching you how you can build a business from scratch where you can ultimately be in a position to grow an audience from your social media platforms, also be in a position to grow your email list, and then eventually create digital products that you can sell to that audience because you've been nurturing the relationship with them. So, if that sounds like something that you are interested in, you're definitely in the right place. Today, we're going to be talking about the fact that you do not need a website to sell digital products. And I think a lot of people, that's kind of surprising to them because they feel like a website is definitely an important aspect of building. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with having a website. I have a website, but I'm just saying there are better ways to go about the process of actually selling your digital products and also capturing information. For example, if you have a lead magnet where you are going to be working to build your email list, there's a better way to go about that than simply using a website. And I hope for some of you that is a relief because I've seen so many people think, oh my goodness, how am I ever going to get started? You mean I've got to build a website? No, you don't. I'm going to show you some strategies and I'm going to show you some tools that you can use that will completely avoid you having to do all of that and really get you up and running quickly. All right. So let's go ahead and let's talk about some of the things that you are going to need. And then I'm going to also share with you why you don't need these websites, some of the reasons why I don't think you really need it. Okay, so the first thing is when you're going to be selling digital products, you really just need a few things. One is a clear problem that you're going to be solving for your intended audience. You need to have a helpful digital product. You're going to need to have content that's going to bring them into your world or your audience. And then you need a simple place to send them. Notice I didn't say a website. You need a simple place to send them so that they can purchase whatever it is that you're offering. All right. So let's see here. All right, so I'm going to say hello to a couple of people. So, hello, John Green from England. It's nice to have you on with us. And also, welcome to Denise. I definitely am excited to have you on because I have something I'm going to be showing of yours that I think is going to be beneficial as well. And let's see, Ashioma is on as well. Glad to catch the live today. I'm happy that you're here as well. All right, so let's go ahead and come in. So I want to just recap quickly. You can have a website, you can get one later on, but that's not your priority. Your priority is really creating helpful content that's going to allow you to grow your email list and also then creating helpful content that's going to continue to solve problems that you can then sell as digital products. All right. So think of that as really the thing you need to be focused on at this point. A website is not that important. And I'm going to let me go ahead and share a couple of things about my website. I'll pop over and show it to you. And I'll tell you why I still have the website. All right. So I think that too many people think that this is a necessity. It is not. You really are going to be focused on two things as a brand new person and really for quite some time. One is going to be a landing page, which is going to be a way for people to subscribe to your email list. That's the first thing you're going to need. The second thing that you're going to need is a checkout page, which is where you're going to be selling your digital products. So remember, landing page for growing your email list. The second thing is going to be a short checkout page for actually selling your digital products. Notice I didn't say anything about a website. All right. Now, the next thing that I want to get into is and I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes to make sure I haven't missed anything. Let me just pop over and show you my website, and then I'm going to get into some of these teaching points. All right, so give me 1 second while I switch this over. Okay, so this is my website, rhondamjordan.com. I don't direct anyone, rarely do I direct anyone to this website. Now, you'll notice it does have an offer in there, and whenever you do that, it needs to be above the fold. That's all I'm going to show you with regard to this website because it's not that important. The most important thing is when you have that digital product that you want to sell to somebody, that you set it up in such a way that you're providing as much of the information that most people are going to need in order to actually make a decision that it's something they want. Same thing is going to be true for your lead magnet. You've thought through prior to creating your lead magnet what problems your audience is experiencing. You've created something that's going to solve that problem, and now you just need a way for them to be able to get it. So that's why we focus on that. Now, before I get into that, I'm going to tell you a couple of things about my own website and why, again, I don't recommend it. I spend over $600 a year maintaining my website. What do I mean by that? It has to be hosted, and I also have to have a lot of security on it because people hack websites all the time. And I've had my website hacked. The third thing is I have to have a email subscriber platform, if you will, to be able to capture email addresses from people that subscribe through my website. All right. So, and I think that adds another $400. So actually, I probably spend closer to $1,000 a year. You don't need to do that. What I'm going to be teaching you today is how to use a tool that initially is free that will allow you to have both landing pages as well as checkout pages. And they're beautifully designed. You don't have to spend a lot of time going through or trying to figure all that stuff out. You'll just simply need to be able to customize it with your colors, your fonts, and the content that relates to your actual either lead magnet or your digital product. That's it. And that's what I want you to be able to do. So the next thing I want to share with you is what we're going to be doing in terms of how we're going to decide where people go and what we're going to be sending them to. So the first thing is this. I'm going to skip over this part about the website because I'm going to come back to that a little later on. Your traffic is going to go to a focus page. Now, what do I even mean by traffic? For example, as people are watching this video, if they're interested in something, that creates what we call traffic, meaning they want to learn more. So then you direct them to something else. Now, for you, that might be that you're creating content on Instagram or Facebook or perhaps TikTok or Threads. It could be almost any platform, if you will. I focus on YouTube. So when people are interested in something, what I can then do is tell them to look below the video, and there's a description box, and there are links in there that they can click on. So that's what you're going to be doing. Whatever platform it is that you've chosen to build on, your traffic then gets directed to a specific place. And I want you to get into the habit of doing this because I've seen too many people who are brand new or have even been around for a while. And when they finish with their piece of content, whether it's a tip that they've provided or if they've done an entire video, it's kind of like, okay, folks, thanks a lot. And that's it. No, you need a call to action in everything that you do. A call to action is nothing more than telling people what the next logical step is that you want them to take. So, for example, if you have created a guide that's going to help them do whatever, I always use my example of, let's say you are a dog trainer and you want to give them, or allow them to have your guide on training that new puppy or, toys they should have at home or whatever. And you've put this together in some type of PDF format, let's say. Well, if they're interested in that, your call to action is going to be, if you're interested, I have put together something that's going to allow you to do X, Y, and Z. And this is how you can get it. That's the call to action. The next part of the call to action is going to be the actual direction, which would be something like click the link below and you can get it. I have a link where all you have to do is just enter your information and it'll automatically be sent to you. So get into the habit of whatever you are doing, having some type of call to action. Don't ever end it. One of my mentors said this to me years ago. He's like, listen, if you're going to have an opening, you need to have a closing. And the closing is always a call to action. So make sure you write that in your notes, because oftentimes people are waiting for you to tell them what to do next. They've been hearing all this great information you've been sharing, and so now they're trying to figure out, okay, well, what else, what's available to me? What can I get? What, all those tips that you talked about, are they, accumulated someplace where I can actually get them? All right. So, I see Yolanda's on. Thanks so much, Yolanda, for joining us live. All right. So that's important. So when you have that traffic and you have already worked out this, whatever this lead magnet, let's start with that. Now you have to get them ready to go somewhere. Because remember, I said they're probably trying to figure out what it is that they can do next. So you need a landing page. A landing page is nothing more than a single page that has a picture, for example, of your lead magnet, because you always want to make sure that you can take your digital product and kind of make it feel real by showing them pictures of it. And then you need a place for them to actually enter their information. So that's what a landing page is. You really don't want anything else on your landing page because you don't want people to get distracted. They either enter their information or they click off and go somewhere else. And in the world that we live in, where people are distracted by ads popping up, other websites, their emails being opened all at the same time, you've got just a short period of time to capture their attention, give them what it is that you offer, and have as few boxes as possible for them to have to enter information into. So, for example, on that landing page, you really just want them perhaps to enter their first name and their email address. Some people strictly want their email address. I like to request the first name because I like to personalize my weekly email messages that go out, but you might choose not to do that. What I also suggest suggest is don't ask for anything you don't need. So you really don't need their phone number. Don't put a field in for that, okay? So just the basics is all we need. The other thing is with a landing page, everything should be what we call above the fold, which means that once they land on it, if they're on a desktop, for example, everything's all in one place. They don't need to scroll to see something else. Same thing applies if they are on a mobile device, and most people are going to be on a mobile device. So you really want to make sure that your opportunity for them to get whatever it is you have does not require them to scroll at all. If they have to scroll, that's another reason for them to bounce off of your landing page, all right? Now, there's a few things that you need to have on your landing page. So you need to have a clear headline, and I'm going to show you some examples in just a second. You need a clear headline. So that's the thing that's going to stop the scroll. You need a short explanation of what they're going to receive, a product mock-up, which is that picture, if you will, of your digital product. You need a few bullet points telling them, or even a short sentence works fine as well. And then you need your opt-in form with a simple call to action. Click here to get whatever. Enter your information and it'll be on its way to you, something along those lines. So what I want to do right now is last month in my community, we actually had a lead magnet challenge. And there were several people that completed the challenge where they actually were able to get their lead magnet up, ready to go, and have landing pages created. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to show you 2 of the lead magnet or landing pages. And if you're interested, enter the information so that you can, in fact, get these. All right, so let me make sure that you can see. Okay, so the first one is a landing page by one of my students, Dr. Yolanda Sanders. And in this, what she has done is, you notice this is one thing, and she's done a phenomenal job of showing you what you're going to get. But clearly what she's done, and this is important for you, don't make the picture so clear that there's no reason for them to download. They could just look at the pictures. You want them to have to download it. So what she has is the Career Story Clarity Workbook. Now I'm going to switch back over, and because I want to make sure I get this correct, because give me one second. I want to read to you what this does before we come back. So with this, what it's going to do is allow you to start organizing your experience, identifying your strengths, and building a professional narrative that reflects who you are and what you do and where you're going. So she's going to help you do all of that. So this, to me, is something that's, definitely something worth having. So in this, all you need to do is click here and notice all she's asking from you is your first name and your email address, and she's saying this is her consent disclaimer, if you will, which is where she's essentially asking them to say whether or not it's okay for her to actually send that. And then what happens is all you have to do is click here, unlock access now. That's the call to action. So she's telling you exactly what it is you're going to get. All right, so as you can see, this is something that you want to have in place, because what it's going to do is allow people to get better acquainted with you by getting a resource that you've actually prepared. And then what it's going to do is allow them to get that resource sent automatically to their inbox. All right. Now, there's a link below where you can, in the description box, it'll say My Students Lead Magnets. You can actually get a copy of this if you're interested in it. Now, I'm going to show you one more. And let me switch over so you can see this. Now, here's another one. And this one is a guide on water bath canning. Now, with this, if you notice, it says, "Are you ready to learn simple steps for safe and confident water bath canning?" Well, somebody who's interested in water bath canning, they're like, "Yes, I am." And then she goes on, she just says a simple statement here. This is Denise Jordan, by the way, if I didn't mention her name. And she says, "If you've ever wanted to try water bath canning, but you felt overwhelmed by the process, this beginner friendly roadmap, notice she's telling you who it's for, will walk you through the simple stages of safe water bath canning so you can start with confidence. She has a picture of it, and then there's these arrows. Download your free roadmap now. First name, email address, send me the roadmap. All right. So you can see that having something like this is really easy to do. And again, somebody interested in water bath canning, it's a no-brainer. You'd go ahead and get it. So with this one, she's going to teach you the basics. And for a lot of individuals who are not they're not familiar with it, this is right up their alley. And again, she's told them it's beginner friendly. So if you want either of these guides, I have them linked below this description. You can get them. And so this will also help you understand the process that happens behind the scenes. So they created this. What will happen is once you enter your information, within a couple of minutes, you're actually going to receive an email message from them, an automated email message, I might add, that's going to have a link that will allow you to download their guides. So, I mean, that's what you want happening, because people may come across your video or your piece of content where you're directing them to your landing page at 2 in the morning when you're sound asleep. Well, if you have your system set up properly, they can go to your landing page, enter their information, and have it automatically sent to them. But here's the other part that happens. Not only are they going to get a valuable resource, but they're also going to receive a couple of additional email messages that are part of what we call a nurture sequence. A nurture sequence is where you're essentially sharing information with them that is on that same topic, but it is helpful to them. So just understand that this is how you'll start to build relationships with people that you've moved from social media onto your email list. And if you don't think that having an email list is important in this environment, it is. Email is so much more effective at selling than just social media. And so that's why I want you to have this. Now, here's one other thing I'm going to share with you. For a lot of people, instead of having, for example, if you have a website, instead of just having your website linked in the link in bio, like in your IG or Facebook or whatever, I want you to send them directly to either a landing page or a checkout page, which we will talk about in just a few minutes. It doesn't make sense in this day and age to just send somebody to a website, because it's too easy to get lost in a website. Websites have things like, the blog, and they have the about me and the contact me and all these other things going on. And if you want people to take a specific action, you have to tell them what that is. Get the guide. Here's the page. Here's how you get it. See, that makes sense. Versus if they go, I'm going to go back to my website for a second and just give you an idea. Versus if they're on my website, I've got all this other stuff, and this is normal for a website. Then they can scroll down. I talk about what I do and so forth. People don't need that. What they need is what your next logical step is. Okay. All right. So now what I want to move on to, let me see if there are any questions on that. Oh, and can I just say that I'm super proud of these two ladies who have done a phenomenal job. I have both of these lead magnets. I subscribe to them, and not because they're my students, but because I think they're fantastic. So I'm telling you, you need to get them. Okay, just go ahead and download that. All right, so let me just say hello to a few things. Let's see here. Tanya says, hello, everyone. All right. Oh, and you're welcome. I love sharing things that my students have done. I've never been one of those people that, only feels like my light has to shine. I'm going to shine light on all of my students' stuff. So I want you to do it. Yes, and get it. Now, full disclosure, this is my sister-in-law. And I always will tell you that Denise is my sister-in-law, because I'm always going to be straightforward with you. But she did a great job with this. And one of the things that she mentioned in our community is I'm not going to tell you her exact age because she didn't give me permission to do that, but she is a woman who has built a fantastic size subscriber count, if you will, on her YouTube channel. And she said she didn't realize that at her age she'd be able to do this. She did an incredible job doing it. So what I want you to know is I don't care what your age is, if you follow the simple steps, you can not only grow an email list, but you can also start selling digital products without needing a website. Okay? You don't need any of that. All right, so now the next thing, any questions on that before I move on? Because the next thing I want to get into, and I don't want to get too long in this because I've got a bunch of stuff I need to cover. But the next thing is going to be for a checkout page. When do you use a checkout page, and what even is a checkout page? So a checkout page differs from a landing page in that it's actually going to have the information about the digital product. It's going to have the headline and probably a subheadline, but it's typically going to have not only a picture of the digital product, but it's going to go into more detail about what it has, because a digital product is going to be more robust than just a lead magnet. A lead magnet solves one problem, it's probably 5 pages long. That's it. A digital product is going to be lengthier, if you will. The other thing that you're going to find on a checkout page, and I'll show you one in just a second, is you're also going to have a section where people can enter their credit card information in order to actually purchase whatever your digital product is. Now, when are you going to use a checkout page versus, let's say, a sales page? I'm going to get to that in just a second. But let me tell you some of the things that are really easy to sell on a typical checkout page. And that's going to be things like a checklist, a template, workbooks, a guide, a swipe file, a mini toolkit, low ticket workshop replays, or the live version of them. And then those products that really are under $100, like, $7 products or $37, $67, $97, and it does not have to end in a 7. So that's just what's in my brain right now. So give me 1 second while I switch over, and I'm going to show you just one of mine. Let's see here. Okay, so this is and just so I'm not confusing you, I don't know if you can actually see this, but this is built on something I like to use, which is called System.io. I have a link for that in the description box. System.io is going to allow you to build landing pages, checkout pages, sales pages, a website, blogs, all of that in one simple place, and it'll allow you to run your email engine. And you can actually start at no cost, so it's free to actually join. And then if you decide you need more of the features, you can do that. All right, so that was my little plug on that. So, but if you notice and understand that you're looking at this on a desktop, this is also, they also have the mobile versions built right in, and you can switch between the two of them. But if you notice, remember I mentioned it's going to have your headline. It's going to tell you that you can stop overthinking things. So people that are in that mindset now understand. And then the next thing is it's going to tell you, here's the price. It's going to say what it can help you do. Think of it as training wheels. It's going to give you the bullet points, and then it says, just fill out your info to get immediate access. Then they come over and they just enter their information in, put in their credit card information, and then, if they want to receive email messages from me, they can, but they don't have to. And then I ask them to agree to the terms and conditions. And you notice, see how this button stands out? It's bright yellow. Bright yellow. You always want your button, if you will, for purchase to not blend into the rest of the page if you can. And then I'm just simply saying, complete your purchase. All right. Now, I do have some other things built in there. I tell them, that it's coming from me. But what I want you to also see as I go through this is I don't have any big drawn out, who is Rhonda M. Jordan? I don't have any of that. And here's the reason why. When you're directing people to a checkout page, if you will, because that's exactly what that was. And remember, it's mobile friendly. So if they're on a mobile device, they're just scrolling to see it and then they can type their info. But I don't need to tell them who I am on that page. Why? Because 9 times out of 10, they have come from one of my videos where I've been talking for, 8 to 10 minutes or longer. So they feel like they know me. They know it's my product. I've directed them to that. And then all they have to do is enter the information. Now, let me also tell you how you're actually going to work within that framework. And you can do this even if you're on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, because you're going to use what I like to call the PAS framework. PAS. And if you don't get anything out of this training, besides you don't need a website, I want you to master the PAS framework. All right. Because if you master the PAS framework, you can sell a bunch of stuff, but you can also get a lot of people on your email list. All right. So let's talk about, let me skip to my notes. I'm skipping all over the place, but I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So the PAS framework stands for problem, agitate, and solution. Problem, agitate, and solution. Those 3 things. All right, so let me give you an example of, or let's talk through. Obviously, they kind of make sense on their own, but you're going to talk about a problem that someone in your audience, likely your ideal customer, is experiencing. The second thing you're going to do is agitate it a bit. You're essentially going to tell them that if they don't do anything about it, they're going to continue to have to deal with that problem. And then S stands for solution, which is where you're going to present your product, your lead magnet, or whatever, it might even be, and I guess it still would be a product, your course, your masterclass, your whatever it is. And you're going to present that as the solution. So let me give you an example of what that might look like. All right, so give me 1 second so that I don't miss this. So if someone wants to create a digital product, but they've never done it before, then what I could do is I could go through a training and I could say, well, let me talk through the steps. And I would just say, this is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to do it, blah, blah, blah. I probably wouldn't tell them how to do it. I would just say, this is what you're going to need to do. So then I could say, but if digital products is something that, you want to learn how to create, but you don't know all of the steps, if you don't, figure it out, then what's going to happen is this time next year, you're still going to be trying to figure out how to create a digital product, whereas somebody who's going to get started next month is going to implement what will allow them to create one. And next year, they're going to be making $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month because they took action. Now, if you want to learn how to do that, if you want to learn the steps, then what I've done is I've created this blah, 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 and I talk about it. And if you want to get a copy of it, then you can just click this link and it'll take you over and you can look at something I've put together that is very easy and walks you step by step through the process of creating your very first digital product. Now, that's super simple. Because if you notice, I didn't hard sell them. I just simply said, here's the problem that you have. Here's what's going to happen if you don't fix it. And oh, by the way, I have a solution to it. And then you direct them to your checkout page. So when we talk in terms of your link in bio, if you will, again, it's either going to be a landing page or it's going to be a checkout page. In this day and age, if you're brand new, I think that's the only place you really need to be directing people, because sending them to some place where they can get lost is the best possible way of them getting distracted and even forgetting you said you had something. And understand, in this day and age, people are also not going to hunt. If they get over to your website and they don't know what to do next, they're just going to go find somebody else that will walk them through the process. They're going to go find somebody else who put the checkout page link right in there, because oftentimes people have their cards ready to go. Because remember, if I've been doing a training on what it's going to take and how digital products are an incredible way of building a business and blah, 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 and they're interested, they probably have their credit card ready to go. And if you have what we like to call no-brainer purchases, which are items that are $97 and less, most people are going to just pull out a debit or credit card and buy if they're interested. I'm not saying everybody's going to do it. And the other thing I want to make sure you also understand is this. Most people are going to need about 7 exposures to whatever it is that you're selling before they're actually going to purchase. But when they're ready to purchase, they've got the credit card ready to go. All they need to know is, where do I go to buy this thing? So you have to make it as simple as possible. Don't ask them 10,000 questions on the checkout page. Let me go back to the checkout page here for a second. All right. So if you notice, all I have is first name, last name, email address, because I got to send it somewhere, postal code, because sometimes you need that in order for the transaction to be processed. They put in their information for their credit or debit card, and then they just simply click on complete the purchase. That's it. See, that's how you reduce friction. You don't have a bunch of stuff that you're asking people for. If they have to fill out a bunch of stuff, if they have to think too much, they're out of there. And here's the other thing. You want that form to be something they can complete quickly, because more likely than not, they're going to get distracted. Somebody's going to call them, their text message is going to buzz, and once they start filling it out and they get that text message buzz, or their kids are calling them, they're out. That's called cart abandonment. We don't want that. So get them through that form as quickly as possible without them getting distracted, so that the process on the back end can take place where they're automatically going to receive their digital product. Okay? All right, so I'm going to be stopping. Oh, Denise, Tanya says she's been interested in water bath canning. All right. My sister-in-law says it's okay to say. She's 74. All right, that's her saying it, not me. Okay, SR 675. It says, are you serious? You should charge at least $5,000 for this rare. Yeah, I probably should be charging a lot more. But right now, it's more important to me that more people learn this. And I'm going to tell you why for a second. Because, as I mentioned, my audience are people who are 45 years of age and older. I see what's happening, and I see that many people have not prepared properly to retire, or they could very quickly and very easily be out of a job. And I want people to be able to say, you know what? I have knowledge and I have skills that I can turn into a digital product and build an audience and sell it to them. Okay. And let me also get one other thing. I'm kind of all over, but not really, because I need to address some mindset things too. Some of you have a mental block about selling things. Why? Why? You have knowledge and skills that it's taken you years to develop, and other people want that. So you have some people that have a lot of time on their hands, so they're going to go look strictly for the free stuff. They'll be all over, YouTube and wherever else. Other people have money and limited time. They'd rather pay you. Most of us are going to fall into that category because we don't have time to be looking all over. If I want to learn or go through the career information that Dr. Yolanda Sanders has put together, I'm getting her guide. And then I want to know what else she has, because I don't have time to be looking all over the place. If I want to learn how to water bath canning, I'm getting Denise's guide. And then I know that, because I happen to know this, she also has a course on water bath canning. I'm getting that too. Because see, for most of us, we need to get to the information as fast as possible. And that's how a lot of people are. So if you have trouble with the word selling things, then I want you to think about it in terms of referring people to things, because you don't have any problems referring people to something. If you found a great recipe that's healthy and can be prepared in 30 minutes and you've tasted it and it's incredible, you don't have any problem telling people about it. So I just need you to work past that, because for some of you, instead of having to go get a second job, you can just simply put your knowledge into digital products, ebooks, guides, checklists, and so forth. And there's a ton other stuff you could do, and people would be happy to pay you for it. Okay. So I hope I haven't beat that. I might come back to that later, because I've heard too many people tell me that they struggle with selling things. Go back to that pause framework that I talked about. You tell them the problem, you agitate it, you then offer a solution. You're just offering a solution to people. Okay? All right. So let's see here. Any other questions or comments that you have, feel free to drop those in. All right. Now, the next thing is I want to talk about when you should use a sales page. Because remember, we said we're going to talk three things. One was the landing page. That's how you capture email addresses. The second thing was a checkout page, which for most of you, that's what you're going to be using. And I didn't even show you, but you can add on to your checkout page order bumps, and then have other things that happen on the back end, which are what we refer to as upsells. That's outside of the scope of this training. I'll do that at some other point. But I just want you to know that that simple $9 or $7 or $17 or $27 product with the right combination of order bumps and also upsells could very easily turn into an average order value of $300, $400, $500. So, don't dismiss a simple $9 product. Sometimes you have to sell something at a lower price to get people in the door and get them into your world so they can learn from you. Then you can later on increase the price or offer those order bumps and upsells. All right, I'm sorry. That was outside of the scope of this. I probably shouldn't have even shared that with you, but I just want you to at least know that. All right, let's talk sales pages now. So with a sales page, typically you're going to use a sales page when you're selling something more expensive. So think like a $497 course or a $997 course or a $1,900 course, something like that. That's when you're going to use a sales page, because a sales page is going to be lengthier. It's going to go into more detail. It's going to have things like testimonials. It may even have like where people can see an initial maybe like a section of the course, if you will. It's also going to likely have a payment plan, because if you're asking someone to buy a $997 course, in some cases, people can simply, pay for it outright. In other cases, they're going to need a payment plan. So you can put that kind of stuff in. If somebody's buying a $97 product, more likely than not, they're just going to throw that onto a credit card and move on. They're not concerned about that, if you will. But the thing that's really going to help you on a more expensive product is having the testimonials, okay? You don't necessarily even need testimonials on a low ticket product, okay? I mean, you've done all the selling, if you will, when you explained what it was in your piece of content, all right? So you don't really need all that. But on a sales page, on a higher ticket item, you do. You definitely are going to need that. And in some cases, depending on the cost of it, if you're selling something that's more along the lines of $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 on up, then you might even have to be willing to schedule calls with people so that you can do the selling over the phone. You can answer their questions. You can make sure they're a good fit for whatever it is that you're offering. So that's when you're going to use a sales page. As I mentioned, most of you who are new or newer, you're going to be using strictly checkout pages. You don't have to go into a lot. And here's the thing I want to share with you. What I showed you with respect to Denise's, I'm going to pull hers back up again. Denise's, this was built on System.io. On the one that I had, this was also built on System.io. So as I mentioned, You don't even have to be a designer. You just have to be willing to customize the different templates that they have in place. And it's going to make it very easy for you to get through the process. The other thing is, I just don't think you can beat the cost. I've talked to so many people who have moved from other platforms to System.io, and I'm talking people that are, making six figures a month, that have said, some of those other platforms out there are so expensive that, I can lower my overhead by going to this platform. So System.io is a robust platform. It has everything you need, and you can be up and running in a short period of time. All right. Now, the next thing is I'm just going to give you a recap of what you should be putting on your checkout page. All right. Because I don't think I went into a lot of detail on that. I'm just looking through my notes. Okay, let me just tell you what you should put on, because some of you also may have come in a little later. So on your checkout page, you're going to have a headline. Okay, that's the thing, again, that stops the scroll and gets people interested. The second thing is a product mock-up. And a product mock-up is nothing more than a visual of your digital product. So the easiest way to do that is if you create it in Canva, then what you're going to do is to save whatever you created in Canva as a picture or a PNG file. And then you can add that picture onto your checkout page. The third thing is going to be just a short description of what they're getting, and then go into bullet points. Now, I'm going to stop for a second and tell you why a short description, bullet point, and product mock-up is critical. People don't read straight down the page. They scan, okay? And so you need them to see picture, okay, great. Headline, great. Yep, that's me. And then bullet points so they can quickly read through them. Then the price. And so most people are going to look at that. And then the next thing they need is a place for them to enter their payment information with that call to action. So let me go back to what I was sharing with you before. All right. So here's the headline. Here's some, verbiage on what it has. Here's the picture. Here's the price. Here are the bullet points. Here's what do you do next. Here is the payment information. And here's complete your purchase. That's it. So that's how simple. You don't want to, again, start adding a bunch of stuff to these. Just go with the templates and customize them for your information. All right, so now let me go ahead. Let's see here. Okay, Tanya says, like now, I'm having a hard time getting a job and having to switch things up. That's the way a lot of people are. And let's face it, once you're over 40, in corporate America, and maybe this is true in Canada and some of the other places, oftentimes because our incomes have risen so much, they can hire somebody in that maybe doesn't have your experience, but they can pay them a lot more. And so, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I'm just simply saying that's the fact of the matter. And for a lot of us, and I think I'm probably, preaching to the choir, we don't necessarily want to be out at a job every single day that takes us, away from our families or our households for 10 hours a day. Why 10 hours? Because for most of us, it's an 8-hour workday, and at least there's some commute time built into it. And I don't know about you, but we also don't want to be told what our maximum amount we can be paid is. See, with digital products and building a business like this, you have the opportunity to really decide how much you're going to make. How do you do that? By creating products that people want. Is everybody going to buy your product? Absolutely not. But the point is, once you master the concept, like with the pages you saw earlier, all you have to do when you have additional products is duplicate the page and change the content. You don't even have to start from scratch with most of these page builders. You just simply duplicate it and put in the information on the next one. So I really want you all to get that. I want you to master that. I want you to feel confident that you can do it and so on. All right? Okay, so we already went through an example of that. Now, let me talk about when a website might serve you, okay? So a website might serve you when you are, I'll give you an example of something that happened to me. I flew to Connecticut last week. I was on a plane, and inevitably, you're going to sit next to somebody, and in some cases, they're going to start a conversation with you. And this person that started the conversation with me, we were talking about why we were going to Connecticut. And then she says, "Oh, by the way, what do you do?" And so I explained to her, and she says, "Do you have a website?" Okay. I do. I do, and I gave it to her. Now, here's the other thing I want to say to you. If you don't have a website, then people are going to Google you. They just are. So I'm going to show you another reason why this is important. So give me 1 second. I'm going to bring up an incognito window on my computer. Incognito meaning that, you can see I'm not logged in or anything like this. So if I were to type in my name, okay, and hit enter, and you see I'm not signed in, here's what's going to come up first. First is going to be my YouTube channel. The second thing is going to be my website because Google has indexed it. I've had this website for 10 years. I've had my YouTube channel since 2009, I think it was. So they are very much indexed. But in addition to that, all this stuff is going to come up. So now, and some of my social media accounts are going to come up as well. The reason why I mentioned that to you is in time, you probably do want to have a website, just not right now. Okay. You don't need this. When I first got started, a website was the gold standard. We all had them. And so, it made sense to actually build it, but now not so much. So that's why I'm just not interested in having you all go through and build out websites. I would much rather that you focus on building your email list, and also creating income by selling digital products. And the way you're going to do that is by having your checkout page. That's it, checkout page. And later on, we'll talk again about some of the other things you can add to it in order to actually increase the amount of income you're going to earn from that. All right. Now, here's another thing I want to share with you as an example of something. You do need to have in place a payment processor. So you will connect that to whatever page builder it is that you're working with. So here in the US, the two most popular ones are going to be Stripe and PayPal. You can set those accounts up, and then you're going to connect them to your checkout page, for example, if you're doing that. Another thing is if you are, let's say, for example, you are doing one-on-one consultations, audits, and so forth. Yes, you can build a checkout page for that as well. Or you can just go to Stripe and use their invoicing function. So there are a lot of different ways, again, that you can collect income without needing a website. So I hope, if nothing else, I've convinced you, you just don't need one. And I wouldn't spend the money that it's going to take to actually build it out at this point. As I mentioned, you can do that later on. All right. So any questions that we have, is this information helpful to you? I hope it's been helpful to you as we're going through it, because I just want you all to be able to get closer to the point of generating income as fast as possible. One other thing I want to point out too is, if you notice, you've never heard me say anything about using Etsy or any of the other sales platforms. And that's just because I don't really support those in terms of teaching people how to grow businesses that way. When you are selling on Etsy, inevitably you're going to end up selling your product, your digital product that you put all your hard work, time, energy into. You're going to sell it for much less than you could have had you just generated your own traffic of people who were interested in your content and sent them to your own checkout page. The other thing is, with Etsy, you don't own those customers, which means, see, with an email list, you own that. That's your list. You've created it based upon people deciding they want to subscribe to get whatever lead magnet you actually offered. So your email list is an asset in your business. And that's something that, you can connect with people on a regular basis. I send out an email message each Tuesday morning. And the important thing about that is that's a great place for you to start asking them, what digital products would you like for me to create? You can run polls to figure it out. You can give them some options. You can also even say to them, I'm going to allow you all to purchase at a first come price, if you will, like a introductory price, and let them do it. And so now they come in, they can look through it. They can be like your beta testers. They'll tell you what's missing. They'll tell you what they would have liked to have had. They'll tell you what they like. And then you can make those adjustments, and then you can sell it to the general public. So again, there's so many advantages to having an email list. The other thing, and I always tell people this, is there's no guarantee that you are going to have access to your social media account forever, because things get hacked. A social media company could decide to shut you down, that your content no longer works for what it is that they want. And then the other thing too is, going back to Etsy, is when you get your product up there, you're going to pay a listing fee for it. But the other thing that's going to happen is eventually, and it's not going to take much time, once somebody realizes that your product is selling, I guarantee you they're going to knock it off. They're going to make it, they're going to make their own version of it, which is going to, increase the amount of supply that's out there, which means you're going to have to lower your price. I just don't believe in that. Whereas if you, in fact, have your own place that you're directing people to, you're selling your product for what it's actually worth. You're connecting with people. And so that is a great way to actually do this. Okay. All right. So let's see here. All right. Tanya says it's been great. I'm glad that this has been helpful to you, because I want you to really start thinking in terms of what it is that you have, what your skill set allows you to create and teach to somebody else. And remember, you don't have to be an expert to create a digital product. You don't have to be an expert to teach and coach other people. You really just need to be 1 to 2 steps ahead of them. So the things that you struggled with, that you eventually figured out, could become very good digital products. And you put it together with your words. You tell them the things you've kind of figured out on your own, and that can go into your overall digital product, if you will. And remember, a digital product doesn't even have to be super blown out in terms of how much stuff is included in there. I mean, you could sell a 20-page ebook, for $27. You could very easily do that. And so, that's what I want you all to really get from this, is that there's somebody who is interested in what you have, and you should not allow a website to be a roadblock to you actually being able to sell your digital products. All right. Or getting people to subscribe to your email list. All right. So let me just see if there's anything else I wanted to cover. The last thing I always like to share with you is, if this type of training has been helpful to you, I do have a school community you can join free. And if you decide you want more access to me or some of the other products, you can in fact upgrade. But there's a lot of stuff in the free version of my community. There's 2 or 3 different master classes in there that you have access to immediately upon joining. You also have the opportunity to have other individuals, other solopreneurs like yourself, who are interested in building a business. They may want to bounce ideas off of you. And so we're a small community, I'll tell you that right now, but it will continue to grow. And as it grows, I will add in more content as well. So there's a link in the description to this video if you're interested in becoming a member of the community. We'd love to have you in and welcome you. It's called the Digital Business Roadmap. And one of the reasons why I called it the roadmap is I'm a big believer in teaching things in a logical, sequential order, teaching you how to do certain things in a certain way, so that all the pieces are in place in order for you to have the maximum possible chance of success in terms of building your business. And then the other thing is, being a solopreneur, it's lonely out there. So you want to be connected to other people people who are doing what you're doing. Maybe there's something you're struggling with, and somebody jumps in and says, hey, this is the way you do that. Or I'll jump in and say, this is what you can do because this is going to allow you to do X, Y, and Z. So we'd love to have you come join us. And as I mentioned, the link is actually in the description. All right. So the final thing I like to do is to just kind of end with some mindset type training, because as solopreneurs, we have to keep our minds sharp and strong, because being out here as a solopreneur, an entrepreneur of any sort, it can be challenging at times. So one thing that I want to share with you is, the importance of making sure that first and foremost, you know what you are capable of doing, and that you don't fall into the trap of thinking your stuff's not good enough, or, you need more training, or you need more whatever. Well, you might need more training. However, chances are pretty good that you have figured out some things, and you just need to simply sit down with a Google Doc and capture that information and drop it in. You might need to go into ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever your favorite AI tool is, and have a conversation with it and say, this is my skill set. This is what I want to do. This is who I want to help. Can you offer or suggest some things that I might be able to create that would help people out? Now, I'm going to be the first one to tell you, I am not at all one that's going to tell you not to use AI, but I'm going to tell you how to use AI the right way. Please do not go into Claude or ChatGPT and just tell it to write something and think you're going to be able to sell that. You need to, well, you probably could sell it, but why do people need you if they could do the exact same thing? So what I like to always tell people is you have to teach or coach or share whatever it is you do, and some information about how you do it with your preferred AI tool, okay? So one of the things I did a couple of weeks ago is I explained that one of the things I did is I took the transcripts from several of my live streams, and I think it ended up being almost 50 different live streams. I downloaded the transcripts, put it into a Google folder, a Google Drive folder, and I told Claude to read the folder. Why? Because I wanted Claude to know how I say things. I wanted Claude to know who I help. I wanted Claude to know, what types of content that people expect from me, who I teach, and so forth. And then I said, what I want to do is have you pull out some additional topics that I can do for recorded videos. So I made sure that it knew exactly who I was and what I do. And I corrected it. There were times where it came back and it said, as it was helping me write some scripts, it said some things, and I'm like, no, I would never say that. I wouldn't say it that way. This is the way I would say it. These are phrases that I would use. Now, why did I even share that with you? Because you can't, just put out AI garbage, as I like to call it. You have to make sure that your AI model has been trained so that it's saying what you would say, and then you go back in and you put your own wording and phrasing in there. So for example, if you've learned how to do something, you put your own experience into it. See, that's what people want. They want to hear from you. Now, they may not mind you using AI, but they want to see your stuff embedded in there. And so there's just a lot of stuff that, I'm seeing where people are just churning out a bunch of stuff that, quite frankly, is just garbage. And if they just put a little bit more effort into it, they could create something that a ton of people like. So, you're going to beat a lot of the people who are just churning out garbage by simply putting your own experience into it, sharing, what you would suggest that they do or how you would suggest they go about doing something. And I would also encourage you, in whatever it is that you create, also share your failures, because people want it. That makes you real. That makes you, the person that they feel like they can trust. Because if all you ever have is strictly your highlight reels, then now people are like, oh, well, she never makes any mistakes, or she never shares any of that. No, they want the real stuff. They want to know that the first time you can something, and Denise, I don't even know if this is how this works, but the first time you can something, it didn't work. They want to know the first time that you created a digital product that, it was just too bulky and people didn't like it. They want to know that the first time you tried to create a lead magnet that nobody downloaded it, or whatever it is that your niche is all about. So be real, share your own experience, share your failures and your successes is what I'm saying. All right. So with that being said, if this has been helpful, if you could give it some thumbs up so that the video can in fact get pushed out a bit more to YouTube. Also, if you have some business besties, I always like to say, that need to hear this kind of information, share it with them as well. Share the link. I'm back here on next Wednesday at 12 p.m. I'll be sharing, one topic from my content pillars, which are growing an email list, building an audience, creating and selling digital products, and affiliate marketing. So I bounce between those topics, and I'm going to put this out there. So depending on when you're seeing this, the Prime Days is coming up for those of you who are in fact Amazon affiliates. Start getting ready for that. The days are going to be June 23rd through June 26th. Start getting your affiliate links ready. And maybe even next week I'll talk about some things you can do to earn some affiliate income during Prime Days. All right. So with that being the set, let's see here. Oh, let me see. All right. I'm sharing those with people that want to learn the skill set. I appreciate that. It is important because this should make a lot of people go, "Ooh, I don't even have to worry about a website. I just got to go ahead and get this other stuff ready to go." All right. So thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. I hope to see you back on a future live training. So with that, have an awesome day and an even better week. And I will see you next week. Take care. Bye.